Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not my beat.
Today, our pleasure to welcome back to the show our guy, Mike Jones, senior NFL writer at The Athletic. Mike, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am doing well. A busy week in the NFL with not only, we're in the middle of a season, but you have the league meetings up in New York. Roger Goodell ultimately gets a 3-year extension. Let's start with that before we get to some of the rest of the football news around the league. This was expected. Was there any kind of holdup, hiccup, any disagreement of any kind over any part of this deal, or was this every single part of it, compensation, years, et cetera, a foregone conclusion?
I think we knew this was going to be coming. At the owners' meetings back in the spring, Jerry Jones was asked about this. And, a couple years ago, Jerry Jones was making a big deal and kind of, acting like, they should consider some other options and wanted to reduce some of Roger Goodell's power. And then they wound up, kissing and making up whatever differences Jerry Jones had. At that spring meeting, he praised Roger Goodell for what he was doing and the way he was helping expand and grow the reach of the game. And so okay, all right, if Jerry Jones, who was raising a stink a couple years ago, was on board with Roger Goodell getting an extension, he's one of the most influential owners, it was going to happen. So it makes sense that they got it done. When you look at 2010, Roger Goodell talked about his goal for the league bringing in $25 billion a year. Well, they have gone from $1 billion to, I think it was about $8 billion when he said that. And now they're somewhere around, I think, between $21, $22 billion a year. So he's close to his goal. I think they're projected to hit it in 2027. So these owners are very happy with Roger Goodell. These massive broadcast deals that he is helping secure, the way they're growing the game, the international series, the money just keeps on piling up. And he's a great buffer for them. Anytime there's something controversial, he takes the bullets. He's got a decent relationship with NFL Players Association, so they've avoided work stoppages. So he is everything that they want. And as long as the money keeps coming in, they will keep extending Roger Goodell and making sure that they continue to get paid.
So there was some reporting that I saw today, though, that this is likely his last deal, 3 years. He's in his early 60s. By the end of this deal, he will be older than Tagliabue was, older than Rozelle was at the end of their terms. And even if they're happy with his job, there's just the logistics of as people get older. Do they look for someone fresher? Because Goodell, you know what? You guys have paid me a lot of money over a lot of years. I think I've made enough. I'm going to go retire and enjoy the rest of my life. In a league like the NBA, there's always, we see the second round of the draft, the deputy commissioner does it, does the draft lottery. We kind of know who the second in charge is. The NFL, not as much. Who are the other people that in 3 years we might be hearing about as potential successors to Goodell?
We'll see, because I know the last time he got an extension, they talked about that was going to be his last deal. You keep paying somebody $50 million a year or more than that, then, they'll be happy to continue. Yeah, maybe I'll roll with this another, couple of years. I do know that Troy Vincent is another guy who is very high up the chain and is one of those guys that gets trotted out when they have issues to speak to the owners. Also, to conduct, like you said, the second round of the draft. And you don't know if there's somebody outside that they would bring in, but it's still a ways off for them, for the league. But I do imagine, because Roger Goodell, one thing that he has done is surrounded himself with people that they have grooming, that they're developing younger minds, creative minds, people that are behind the scenes that we don't necessarily know or see, but people that, eventually could wind up continuing to ascend and take over.
Mike Jones, senior NFL writer at The Athletic, with us here on The Hoffman Show. All right, let's go on the field or at least quasi on the field for a couple of things. Starting with where we ended our last segment, we're just kind of noting some of the injuries around the league, Mike. And this Deshaun Watson situation in Cleveland is weird. What do you know about it? What do you make of it? Where they just, at this point, announced today, we don't have a timetable for his return, even though they announced last week that everything structurally is fine with his shoulder.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that's odd, is that there's conflicting things. They say, he's been medically cleared, and then the next day you hear that it's a rotator cuff issue. Having had a torn rotator cuff myself, I don't understand how they can say that you're medically cleared if there is a rotator cuff issue. And I understand why that's painful and why he's not able to go, but don't say that he's medically cleared if he actually has an issue.
Right.
So that's why it's so strange. He's saying he's day to day. They don't really know exactly when he's going to come back. I even asked a couple people inside the organization, dude, what's going on? And they themselves are a little bit in the dark. It sounds like it's a very tight circle as far as people who know exactly what the issue that he's dealing with is. It's not good if you're the Browns. I mean, you're paying this guy $230 million fully guaranteed, and he's not able to get onto the field, and you don't know exactly what the timetable is. It's looking like this deal once again is blowing up, backfiring in their face. Obviously, they're hoping that it's something that he can, recover from and then, get back by the hard time, when they're in the heart of the season. But really, you just don't know. And, Baker Mayfield looked promising, and then he had that year where he had the issue with his shoulder, and things really just went south here. And now you've got your next quarterback that you've given a lot of money, and he's got a shoulder issue here. And we'll see how this thing plays out.
Other places with great defensive play so far this year are the two defending conference champions. Obviously, Cleveland's defense has been incredible. But in Philly, Kansas City, both defenses, I think, played pretty well. It's surprisingly the offenses that haven't really kept up. If you had to pick one of those two to get on track, like what do you see from each of them, and which one do you think is going to be most fine by the end of the year?
I think both of them will be fine. I've been on to a number of Eagles games as of late. The thing about them is if their passing game isn't working, their run game is working. If the run game isn't really working, they do still have the ability to hit some big firework plays. They hurt themselves last week more than anything. Now, look, I won't take anything away from the Jets because now we've seen them. They've beaten the Buffalo, which is a very good offense, and now they've beaten Philly. So Robert Saleh, has a really good defense, and they have a lot of talent, and that's why people thought that if they had Aaron Rodgers, they were going to contend for a Super Bowl. But the Eagles, even though they're not 100% right, they still are among the league leaders in yards per game, passing yards per game. Their scoring is okay, even though their red zone offense isn't great. Their explosive plays have gone down just a little bit, but they still do have, the talent necessary. They have the defense, like you said, the defense of both of those teams. So I think it's just a matter of now you have a target on your back, and now teams know how to play you. So you have to continue to stay ahead of the curve. They also have a new offensive coordinator, Brian Johnson, who first-time play caller. So they're working out some kinks there, even though he knows the personnel and the system just fine. And then when you look over there in Kansas City, I think getting McCall Hardman, which they did in this trade today, will help them. They have Travis Kelce, obviously, but there's no other wide receiver in the top 50 on their team. So maybe Hardman, I'm not saying that he's going to light it up, but he is somebody that's reliable that Patrick Mahomes can go to if he can stay healthy. We saw him have productive years there, but injury kind of derailed him. So now that he's healthy again, maybe that'll help them. We have a little more time before the trade deadline, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go out and try to find another weapon for that offense. But look, it's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes. Great skill, great offensive mind combination, quarterback and coach. So I think that they'll get things figured out as well. The thing with them and the thing with the Eagles is they have quarterbacks that have the ability to be difference makers and get you instant offense. Maybe it's not consistent all the time, but they do. When you need them to make a big play, they can do that, and that's something you have to have. And so if you've got the great defenses like they do, it's a matter of time before they start clicking in high gear.
Mike Jones, senior NFL writer at The Athletic with us. Great perspective there. On the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app and streaming live on YouTube. Last thing I'll ask you, Mike, we obviously spend our days here trying to make sense of the Commanders' season, and while record-wise they're kind of exactly where most of us thought they'd be, how they've gotten there has been one winding, twisting road that has a lot of twists and turns that none of us expected. How do you try to make sense of the first 6 Commanders games this season?
Yeah, it's really interesting because you thought that the defense was going to be, something that, okay, you didn't have any questions about, but then there's kind of some ups and downs there. We weren't sure what to expect from Sam Howell. There have been bright spots there. Then there have been times where he looks like a young guy, and that's expected. Being at 500, it makes sense for right now. Where they are, like you said, we expected they were kind of be like that. I think the rest of the season, they're probably going to be kind of like this. They'll win a game that they should win. They'll lose a game against a tough team. Maybe win a game they shouldn't win. Lose a game that they should not have lost. I don't know exactly what the missing thing is, but it does feel like there's just something that's not quite there. I don't know if it's the message, if it's or what it is. But
they got that down now, Mike. Do your job. No one's ever done that before.
Do your job. Wow, thank God that we can rip off Bill Belichick and have a slogan.
Of all years to rip off the hoodie, this is the one.
Right? And so I'm just kind of like, But when you look at Ron Rivera's record outside that 15-1 season, this is what his teams are.
Yeah.
They're right around 500. They play hard. They disappoint you. They tease you. But, they're just kind of 500-ish. So this might be what this team is, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's exactly who I thought they'd be.
The bad part is being 500, you're not going to be in position to make a great draft pick, So either suck or be really good, one of the two. And, I don't think that's what they're going to be, either end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, being mediocre, not quite as in such a severe way as the NBA, but mediocrity does beget mediocrity. And yeah, the cycle's got to break eventually. I mean, what the most Ron Rivera, the most Commanders thing at this point to happen would be for them to lose to the Giants this weekend and then beat the Eagles the following weekend. Like that. That would be
anybody at all, right?
Yeah, that would be perfect. Just chef's kiss, no notes. Congrats, Ron. You read the script.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
Hey, if we heard it here first, folks.
That's right. The Hoffman Show. You heard it here first from Mike Jones of The Athletic, where you can read many things first. Make sure you check out his work in The Athletic, where he is, of course, senior NFL writer. Mike, always great to catch up, man. Hopefully I'll catch you sometime. If you're at FedEx one of these days soon, I'm trying to get back out to more games this year. So hopefully I'll see you out there.
I'll be at that Eagles game. So
okay, I should see you then.
Forward to seeing you. All
Great.
right, sounds good, man.
All right, man. I'll see you then. Mike Jones with us here on The Hoffman Show.